everyone, and welcome to the Interesting MD podcast. What is it? What is it going to be?
I want people to be able to hear this and to say, not everything is amazing with my career right now, and I just want to try something new. Here are some people who have really achieved some very high-level things, but they didn't start out like that, and it wasn't perfect, and here's how you get started.
Speaking of trying new things, whose idea was this?
Shooting the gun or wearing those shorts? When I had more hair and still had friends that would hang out with me. Welcome to the Interesting MD podcast, the show about what doctors do when we aren't seeing patients and how this can help us find balance and prevent burnout. I'm your host, Rob Beck.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Interesting MD podcast.
Or the Rob Beck experience. I don't know. The name might still be up in the air.
I'm sure that website's available.
That one might be available too.
So a little bit of background. This is Aaron Fritts. I'm one of the co-founders of the Backtable Podcast, which is a medical specialty podcast network. I have my wife here, who's the host of Backtable ENT.
Yep, Backtable ENT. And we get the honor of introducing the Dr. Rob Beck. He was a classmate of ours in medical school at Tulane School of Medicine in New Orleans. And we're so excited to be here. Welcome, Rob, to your own show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. This is a very new and interesting experience, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. So, Rob, we wanted to start out your first episode with, what is it? What is it going to be? Tell the audience the plan.
All right. And does Andrea know? Does she know what's happening here?
Andrea does know, she will not be seen on camera.
So just for our audience, Andrea was also one of our classmates and Rob's wife, who's also an internist. So anyways, but yes.
Yes, no, thank you. So Andrea does know. She is hiding somewhere. I think she actually left the house, and this is all making her very nervous. I think that if I have the interesting MD, she is probably the disinterested MD, and is supportive but skeptical. So yes, she does know. So what is the podcast? The podcast is going to be about what doctors do when they're not taking care of patients. There are plenty of medical podcasts out there, but I want to be something that is focused on hobbies or side projects that doctors like to do, and I want to make it focused on every doctor. There are 1.2 million doctors in North America at all stages of training and all stages of life, and I want to find something that's fun and interesting for doctors to be able to listen to and to be able to learn about what other people are doing and to try and find something fun to do for themselves, and that's what this is going to be exploring. So I've done a lot of fun, interesting things over my career, and I want to be able to help people kind of find some fun things for themselves as well.
Well, Rob, speaking of hobbies, I just wanted to ask you, what's happening here?
So early on, back when I had more hair and less body fat and still had friends that would hang out with me, this was a phenomenal night where we did get to go and see the first, I believe this was the Red Tour for Taylor Swift. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So yes, I hope there are no pictures from later on in the afternoon, in the evening, but yes, this was Bridgestone Arena, back when we had reunited back in Nashville for a couple of years.
Yeah, the later photos are mature audiences only, so yeah, I left those out.
We want people to actually listen to the show and take you seriously, so we will not show any more photos of that night.
So yeah, that picture was actually shortly after we finished training. Mm-hmm. You guys had been in Nashville for a little bit at that time, but
yeah.
But yeah, tell the audience a little bit about, where you've been with training and life and where you are now.
Yeah, sure. So born and raised in Tennessee, went to the University of Tennessee. After I graduated, I decided I never wanted to go to school again. So I moved to the great state of Ohio and worked as an environmental consultant in Cincinnati. did that for a year and realized I needed to kind of grow up and do something different with my life and get a little more direction. So moved to New Orleans and entered in the School of Public Health and Tropical Medicine there with the full intention that I was going to move overseas and work overseas as part of a nonprofit. While I was there, I actually decided that, yes, I do want to go to medical school. I had been wanting to do that, but kind of gave up on the idea and joined, got into med school there, met you guys, and stayed there, did residency there. And after that, moved to Nashville in 2011, worked as part of a traditional general internal medicine practice, and did that for almost 10 years, about 9.5 years, and took the unusual step of kind of making a huge pivot mid-career and moved to Victoria, British Columbia, where I am coming today. That was kind of just prompted by that was all just in the middle of COVID and just prompted by just needing a change. And so we felt like that was a good time for the kids and that it was a good time for us. And so now Andrea and I both work as general internist, and we kind of live and work in Victoria, in a very nice small area, live a couple of blocks from the beach. It's a very pretty beach. The water is extraordinarily cold, so I get to look at it, but I don't really get in.
You don't dip a toe in there?
I do not. I was just walking down there. I just walked the dogs this morning, and it's awesome to see the beautiful mountains. And, like you see snow-covered Mount Baker. Some days you can see lots of other huge mountains. But I see people that are down there, and they're like doing the cold plunge every morning. And no, that's
He's
not
into
for me.
it.
The water's
Aaron's into it.
The cold. We talked about
How
this when we were in
cold?
Paris. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know about jumping in the ocean, but like we do the little bathtub cold plunge at our gym, which actually is really invigorating and like almost meditative.
But you have to do it for at least 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I get to 31 seconds, and then I'm like, mallet.
Yeah, I've not really, I got in there on New Year's Day with the boys, but that's really about it. The water's 47 degrees.
Yeah,
it hurts.
that's pretty bad.
And then when you get out, it's still really cold. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's Canada.
Yeah.
It's not like Canada cold, but it's still really cold. So
That might be an upcoming episode, just showing doctors who like to cold plunge every morning.
there are doctors here that we have friends here that do that.
Yeah.
What do you think? Just kind of like
that
get
would
in
be
their
an
brains.
explicit
Like,
episode
yeah.
for me, I think.
Is your
Just a lot of
clinical
bleeping.
day
Yeah.
better? Or,
Yeah.
how does it change when you do or
Yeah.
don't have the plunge?
Yeah, I don't know how
Do your
many of
patient
those days I could
satisfaction
do.
scores go up?
Yeah. So that's where we are. We're now in Victoria, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, coming back to the Rob Beck Experience podcast, interesting MD. Okay. How did you sort of, do you listen to podcasts? Why'd you choose this medium?
So when we moved here, it was a little bit of a change, and I started listening to audiobooks and podcasts when I would drop the kids off at school in Nashville, but I didn't have that long of a commute, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And so really couldn't get into too much of it. I knew that you guys were into podcast and into podcasting. And once I moved here, my first job was about 2 hours away. And so every morning I would get up, drive 2 hours, go to work, drive 2 hours back. So most weeks I was having 20 to 28 hours of commute. And there are only so many times that you can hear Sabrina Carpenter on the radio. And so I started taking that time to really just listen to different podcasts, listen to something to fill my time, and tons of audiobooks. I actually use that as a really fun time to just learn about things that I didn't know about. And it's really amazing what you can find out there. And so the reason that I wanted to do this and use this medium is, number one, because of your influence, of course, and your ideas, which we can definitely talk about. But I think that it's just something that you can find a good way to communicate to other people and really kind of connect to people in a way that you don't really find. It's a little bit longer format, and it's a lot easier to connect with people and to be a bit more authentic. And I think that it just works better. I think that you're able to communicate ideas better, and you're able to be a bit more authentic with people. So.
Yeah, and here we are. We made it to the first episode. I mean, you and I have talked a bunch over the last several months, about like the hesitation, and I think I told you I talked to a lot of docs about starting podcasts, or if not podcasts, something else. And it's really just getting over that hump and getting past those negative thoughts in your mind, besides your own wife's negative,
appropriate negative thoughts.
Right.
I think we need to bring her on at some point, because I think she has her own opinions on this, and I would love to hear them.
What? Andrea's opinions.
Yeah. But was there anybody else that shot down the idea and you were just like, I don't know if I want to do this,
So, yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing, Andrea did shoot the idea down at first, but appropriately. She's my best friend, my wife, my most trusted advisor, who also knows me better than anybody. And so as those Taylor Swift photos show, that not all the time, my ideas are not always amazing, and the execution is not always great either. And so having somebody, when you're trying to do something new, and this is kind of the same thing with experiences or with starting a startup, that having somebody who can be an honest voice to tell you, okay, here are the pitfalls. I like this idea where you're headed with it, but this is where your major pitfalls are. And so having her advice and her comments and feedback would be very helpful about how you want to shape this. This definitely is not going to be a podcast of me sitting here and talking for 3 hours, because that nobody needs that. And, it's more of going to be just me asking questions, finding out about people, and helping people to see something a little bit new and different in the different experiences and the different opportunities and hobbies that they have.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot of insight and value. I mean, we also had a mid-career pivot or shift when it came to, career practice, how we practice, where we live, that kind of stuff. And so having that new perspective or new lens is almost a gift, really. It's something that, unless you allow yourself to, especially with that first 5 to 10 years out, you're just so focused on the grind, seeing patients in kind of survival mode. Maybe you're starting a family, et cetera. There's so many different things going on that until you, for us, really it wasn't until we made that big change that I was like, oh, wow, like there's a whole different way to kind of live and think. And it's made me a better clinician, I would say, too. I think overall, like there's that evolution and growth. So I think it would be really cool to have different guests who come on and, learn about, different ways, people's journeys and paths, all the different ways, turns, growth and development people have. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. It's really important that, again, I've done a lot of very fun and interesting things, and sometimes I think I have a higher risk tolerance than other people, but I also have a big willingness to say yes to doing something and to trying something, mitigate the downside of it. And I want people to be able to hear this and to say, okay, not everything is amazing with my career right now or whatever else. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I just want to try something new without completely blowing up my life. And, that I think is very fun and important and what I want to show people through this is here are some people who have really achieved some very high level things, but they didn't start out like that and it wasn't perfect. And here's how you get started and make it a very simple, I cannot imagine that there will ever be an episode where I tell somebody you just walk in and you quit your job today. Don't do that, but change something. If it's, for me, it was, I got to do a couple of side projects and got to do some startups. One of them phenomenally failed and one of them did amazingly well. And once that was over, I was kind of bored. And so, doing the practice and building my practice, taking care of patients, doing all of that. But then we got into triathlons and we started doing that just to try and help. And we did not start out doing long distance triathlons. It was just something that, hey, there's a race this weekend that I read about, and let's go do that. And I want to help people to start off small and do these things that they can get interested in and take it as far as they want. Try something else out. That's all I really want people to do. So.
Speaking of trying new things, whose idea was this?
Okay, so shooting the gun or wearing those shorts?
The whole ensemble.
So this is decidedly a day when Andrea was not around, and Aaron came over. So we went to the firing range. I'm pretty sure that this was Aaron's idea, 100%. And
yeah, that gun range off the highway was just calling my name, and I said, "Who's gonna be down for this?" Definitely Rob Beck.
This is phenomenal. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to recreate that and probably have some better photos of that. I'll probably get a stylist involved next time. That's great.
So my next question is, I love the idea of the show because I do feel like hobbies are really important. Like, we know older physicians who their whole lives are work, right? They have no hobbies. And I think that gets challenging as you get later in life, where you start scaling back from clinical medicine. Like, what are you going to do outside of medicine? So it's nice to at least be exploring these things now during our early and mid career, where, okay, maybe when I'm done, I'm just going to be a photographer because I know I'm really into that. It sounds like you agree hobbies are probably essential to balancing our lives out, don't you think?
I think so. There's always going to be medicine. There will always be more patients to see. There will always be these things to take up your life, and there will be more labs to review. There will be more patients to see. There will be more everything that you need to do. And at some point, that's going to leave you feeling very hollow. And that's what I did find, is that a lot of times, that as much as I love being a doctor, as much as I love taking care of patients, seeing patients, interacting with patients, and interacting with my colleagues that have been amazing throughout since the time that we started med school until now. I have incredible colleagues that are really fascinating people. Sometimes it's just not enough to help. You need to step away from that. And whether it's to be able to focus on, with one of the startups, it was just focusing on building something new and taking my experience and my knowledge and building something new that was fun, exciting, kind of adjacent to what I did in my day-to-day life, but using my knowledge and my experience to do something fun and creative that was completely different than what I did from 9 to 5. And with triathlon, when we got into that, there's just something really therapeutic about getting on a bike and making your feet go around in a circle. And that's all you think about. And, the labs piling up, everything else that constantly comes in when you're just putting your feet around in a circle, or you just go out and you go for a run. It's just amazing. And, you get in a pool, you can't get notifications on your phone when you're in a pool. You can't do that when you swim. And so it's just you and your thoughts for just swimming laps back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that was a way for me to escape, for me to decompress. And everybody has something that they can do. Not everybody's going to go off and do an Ironman, and I understand that and don't recommend that for everybody. But everybody has something that they can do, that they can decompress, that they can share with somebody else. That was the great thing, is that Andrea and I got to do that together. And I want people just to think about and to find ways of decompressing, but doing that with somebody else if they can. And I think that was one of the best things for me. So that's what I'm hoping that people will find from this.
Yeah, that's really cool. What are your hobbies, Aaron?
No,
Aaron and I are married, by the way, but for the audience who
I
may
was
not
just
know
going to
us.
ask Gopi, what does she do to decompress?
Here it is. I asked you first.
Huh? Well, I just said I surf, I snowboard, I do photography.
Oh,
I
he's so many
play with the
hobbies.
kids, pickleball. Like you
I think
surf with
so.
you?
I do think I think hobbies are very important. I think what's interesting, and this might be something to explore on the Rob Beck experience, when you find other interesting MDs. But I think women have a different time challenge. I think you're. I don't know studies and percentages, but from talking to other people and being a woman in medicine, I do think that. For me, I don't have a list of hobbies. I know I enjoy doing yoga, but I've had to be very, very intentional about trying to make sure I go a couple of times a month. And now, I also had a big career, like clinical career pivot as well. But when I was kind of grinding and doing the full time academics, et cetera, I don't know how many quote hobbies I had. It was survival mode.
Exactly.
And so I think that, you have to create time for it. You have to be thoughtful about it and really want to make it something that is part of your life and be okay with it. And I do think women would have different time challenges. I just want to throw that out there.
100%. And that's actually something that I do want to think about and do want to explore with all of this is how do women, and probably wrong, now I'm not going to say right or wrong, but for wrong, that a lot of the childcare responsibilities will fall on women, and whether they're a physician or not, whether they're working or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their day job is. And so Andrea and I have actually talked about that a lot and have seen people around here who find fun ways to spend time with their kids, whether it's one of the people that I'm hoping to be able to speak with does horseback riding with her daughter. And that's just an experience that they do. And that's some way that she has to set out and that she spends time with her daughter. And that's a great way for her to decompress, to do something fun, to connect with her daughter and spend time with her family. Yeah. So we're going to definitely explore a lot of things that are practical. It's not just going to be, testosterone filled things. But I do want to be able to, there are fewer women in medicine who are doing these side projects, who are doing these things. And I want to encourage them to actually start stepping out and exploring. And you're not going to be a bad mom if you go to a yoga class, or if you start working with a startup, or you start training for a short distance triathlon. You're not a bad person for doing that. And I think that that's one of the things that I really want to get across, is that this is for everybody. Yeah. So,
speaking of childcare responsibilities, how young is too young for paintballing? This was the best.
I mean,
because Wes was having the time of his life, but we were like,
They had eye protection helmets, right? Like, why are the children? Yeah. Okay.
Well, Wes couldn't put his helmet on because he got shot in the face.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
I can't look how small Harden is. I can't believe how he's like 2 times the size of you now. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's a monster. He's a monster now. Wes is taller than me now. It's not fair. It's not great, and they're all faster than I am, even Avery. So life is just not fair at all. So I don't know what the age limit is. It's definitely younger than this.
No, it's funny because we're going to Nashville in a couple of months for a conference. I'm taking Jai with me because he's on spring break, and I'm going to take him to this exact same place because I think the age limit is 12, and Jai's now 13. So
nice.
I think it'll be okay. Yeah. But this is fun. This is a perfect example of spending time with your kids and them just having a blast,
Yeah, this is just doing stupid and fun things.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Well, you should do an episode on that, on paintballing. Yeah. I'm sure there's some doctor out there who's just like obsessed with paintball and's got all the gear and like just does weekend tournaments and stuff.
Paintball pellets.
Yeah.
To the doctor out there who is huge into airsoft or to paintball, email me, rob@interestingmd.com.
Yeah.
That's the first guest.
So can you give our audience a little teaser or trailer on what they can expect in like the first 5 or 6 episodes? Do you have that mapped out?
Yeah, absolutely. So episode 1 is basically just going to be humiliating myself with pictures of me from old with you guys. But so episode 2 is going to be with Dr. John Anderson. And he is an internist who was in my group, but he was actually the president of the American Diabetes Association and was the first internal medicine doctor, non-endocrinologist, to be president of the American Diabetes Association. There's only one person a year that gets to do that, so not everybody that's going to hear this would end up doing that, but it's about ways to get started, whether you're going to do research, volunteer, and the ways that you move up in these organizations and ways to start charting out your career path if you're younger in your career. These are fun and interesting things to do on the side that will help to keep your practice kind of fresh and new. So that would be the first episode. The second episode is going to be with Dr. Matt Buter, who is a chief medical officer for HCA, Healthcare Corporation of America, and he is one of their divisional CMOs, and we'll talk a little bit about how to get started. You don't just go, from doctor to large corporation CMO. You start getting involved in hospital leadership and taking on other roles and responsibilities, and how does that help kind of extend the practice. Then there's going to be some more silly ones. One's going to be flying, so a doctor who's a pilot. Guys, get out there, start flying planes. I think it will be really fun. Again, my wife probably pulling me back a little bit from that.
She might want to start taking flying lessons.
She might.
That actually might be interesting to Andrea.
Me doing it, at least, as long as I'm heavily insured. But doing that, and a lot of with fun things like this, I want to be able to take some videos and post those on YouTube and just. Yeah. Again, making everything approachable. You're not going to go out, and I will not be the doctor who doesn't show you the 50 takes of me trying to learn how to surf, of where I don't get up, I miss the wave, I fall over, I get rolled by the wave. I want to make this approachable for everybody, that you can start off and just do it like this. Just try this, try that. Go to the next step if you want to. I'll probably try and give people some more steps and some kind of higher level stuff along the way. And fourth episode probably is going to be about triathlons. Again, these are the person that I have in mind for this and that we're still in negotiations with. She's very accomplished. She is an ER doctor, extraordinarily accomplished, and she does a great job in triathlons, is really, really high performing, but is also a very grounded, reasonable person and can kind of give an idea about how to get started, what all you do. I can tell some stories of me almost drowning in Lake Pontchartrain, but not really. They just thought I was going to in my first triathlon.
Nobody had to come out. There may have been a buoy involved.
The people in the kayaks kept circling me, and I just told them to leave me alone, but stay close. And
but not really.
Leave me alone, but not really. Yeah. But just doing fun stepwise things. I'm hoping to be able to do a surfing episode. I just got up on a surfboard last week when Andrea and I were in Hawaii, so now I'm fully committed. I'm fully into this. I'm very excited now. Not good at all. And even though there's great surfing on Vancouver Island, again, it's too cold. Yeah. So
come on down, San Diego.
San Diego.
It's perfect.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So those types of things.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, as we start to round it out, or did you want to do any other? Sorry,
No.
You might have to edit that part out. All right. Well.
Well, hey, one thing, if you find a physician beekeeper, let me know. I might join you on that one. Because I want to kind of
Are you interested in beekeeping?
It's something I want to maybe that might be an old man hobby for me, over the age of 50. Yeah.
I am quite sure that
an
on
old man
Vancouver
hobby
Island there is a physician beekeeper. I can almost guarantee
that
it.
might be in a couple of years there, and this isn't in the next 20 years. No, this is tomorrow.
It might be in the next few years.
Yeah.
While there's still bees on the planet. Yeah.
Awesome.
We've got this.
Well, we're so excited for you. I'm really excited. To me, it will always be the Rob Beck experience, but I am open to other podcast names such as The Interesting MD. But
Yes.
as we start to round it out, any final words or pearls or thoughts that you want to leave your listeners with?
Yes. So my biggest thing is that I want to help people to see something fun and interesting in a lot of different things, in a lot of different areas. I want people to be able to hear what somebody else does and think, I would never want to do that, or I would never think about doing that. But don't look at the downsides of it. Look at something new, something fun and interesting, and something that you can take from it. I went to Africa in the summer of '98 and that was no idea that I wanted to really do that, but it was because I watched The Ghost in the Darkness. It was about two lions that eat hundreds of people, and I wasn't really wanting to go to have that experience. I just wanted to go and see somewhere new and somewhere that I had never been before. Talking with you guys about a podcast, I had never thought about doing a podcast prior to having a couple of drinks with you guys on the Trocadero in Paris, and then jet lagged later that night. That was where this idea came up. And so just, I want people to be open, be prepared, and just be accepting of doing something new, something fascinating, something that's a little bit different than what you do, to try and help balance you out. That's all.
It's a great Val Kilmer movie. I love that movie.
It is.
All right, Rob. Well, yeah, we're excited to see
right.
what's coming. And yeah, definitely, like, if you come down to San Diego, we can surf and you can shoot in studio. So we'd love to
Amazing.
have you. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys so much for doing this and for helping me out, and all the guidance that you've given me over the past several months.
Lots of guidance.
So, yeah, sorry. I owe you guys a lot, and I'm really
right.
sorry.
No.
Well, we're so excited for you. I can't wait to hear the next episode. And wish you luck. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Episode 1.
You guys are great. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Aaron, at some point, I'm going to post pictures somewhere of you that I have from later on that night.
Thank you for your listeners for stopping by, your mom and your mother-in-law especially, and plus minus your children.
Hi, Mom. Thanks, Linda. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Right.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Interesting MD podcast. Please check out my content on YouTube at Interesting MD, and follow me on TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at The Interesting MD, and on X at Interesting MD. If you have comments or questions and want to get in touch with me or any of my guests, please DM me on socials or email me at rob@interestingmd.com. If you have any ideas for a show and you want to share your hobbies with me, or don't know where to get started on your own project, you can email ideas@interestingmd.com. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel to get the latest content. Much appreciation to Falter Media for editing, producing, and posting all Interesting MD content. Check them out, because if they can do this for me, imagine what they can do for you. See you next week.